I want to talk briefly about what's happening because President Trump is under a spectacular additional assault right now. It came out yesterday, by the way, just a little aside, and this ought to sober you, and if I don't sober you, then I failed. Came out, there's a 95% certainty that the United States government was probably involved in the second assassination attempt, where a man tried to get a Stinger missile in Ukraine, an RPG where he could either take out Trump's jet or kill him in his armored vehicle during the campaign. Now that's a small example, but mostly this man is under tremendous fire over the tariffs. It wasn't enough that this extraordinary man was impeached twice and you couldn't break him. They tried to assassinate him twice. Other times they stopped him, and that wouldn't stop him. Lawfare galore arrested him, investigated him, charged him with a whole long range of absolute brazen lies that are coming out more and more. Couldn't stop him. You know, there are great kings or presidents that come along who don't look like they would be president. One of them was Abraham Lincoln. There are others. Now, constant attacks. I was just reading a long article in the Wall Street Journal that's become very, very liberal about his tariffs are unique in history. And that he's doing the wrong thing, say all these people who never give him credit for anything. And when he changed his policy in the middle of last week, he collapsed and he climbed down. It was a climb down for the ages. No, it was all part of his strategy because he's just that good. His kids all love him. He's married 3 times. Well, the ancient David was married 6. And Abraham at least 3. He was one at a time. But no matter what he does, he says men should not play in women's sports. They shout tariffs. He's going to bankrupt the country. He's restoring freedom of speech, and we can thank God for that. If he wasn't here, there's no telling whether this work would continue. And ending all federal censorship. He's securing our borders. Not a mention of that. He's shut them down. He's actually attacked by the left for it, but on the right, they're coming after him over the tariffs. All the know-it-alls who never met a payroll. I have more experience by far in my life running, we'll say, 2 companies, my father's and the church, than all these pundits who know exactly how you should deal with these things when they never met a payroll of 3 dog catchers they had to pay. They don't know what they're talking about, but they're pundits and they're paid to cause trouble. No drag shows in schools, particularly at young ages, where these little kids are there. He says, no, that's all wrong. He's like Josiah in one way. No sex training in elementary schools. And boy, they want his throat for that. He's anti-abortion. He has this little problem with slaughtering full-term babies that a mother's perfectly willing to slaughter, vacuum the brains out. Oh, hit him over that. He hates women. Maybe he loves the little women that gets their brains sucked out. He's anti-trans surgery, not a mention. Tariffs. Watch. I read the Wall Street Journal on Friday. Every article trashed him, and it used to be more conservative. He said there are 2 genders. Trash him. Give him no credit for that. Wants to protect little children from surgery that way. He seeks peace in Russia and Ukraine. How terrible is he? And the same with Hamas, and wants to get the hostages back and shut down the war in the Middle East. He's a monster, and he wants to shut down anti-Semitism. How dare he tell the Hamas sympathizers they can't march on the campuses of America or shut down federal funding. Take $400 million away from Columbia, and they've got $8 billion in endowments. He ought to take it away from all of them. He's about to write an order against all sanctuary cities. An executive order is going to come out in 2 or 3 days, and all mayors and all governors look out. The Department of Justice is going to come from them. hit him over the tariffs because why? Well, Americans are covetous. They're Israelites, don't you know? He's trying to stop America from imminent bankruptcy. Doge is in finding hundreds of billions of dollars in waste, fraud, and abuse that the people on the left have installed in there. Tell me how the Senate minority leader gets a salary of $174,000 over the last 18 years, and he's now worth $93 million. Or the last Speaker of the House, the Democratic Speaker, made an even smaller salary, and she's now worth $200 million. You bet they don't want those scams to be discovered. I mean, Joseph is being attacked and shot at. But there's a figure who has energy, sleeps 5 hours a day. He works without a salary. They've assaulted his children at levels you cannot imagine. His one son has been subpoenaed 30 times just to break their lives and destroy them. People so evil the devil would be shocked. He wants to end all radical indoctrination. He doesn't want critical race theory and diversity, equity, and inclusion in the military and in our schools because it's racist. It's wrong. Teaching that black people are inferior is wrong, but teaching that white people are inferior is just as wrong. He says, no, let's level the playing field. Let's go back to where we were. Oh, hateful. He's not inclusive. Well, he says, I'm not inclusive because I want to include white people. They're the majority. This is an Israelite country. It is Joseph, after all, we would add. He removed barriers to American leadership and artificial intelligence. He wants the United States to protect our territorial water. He wants to lower the price of energy, drill, baby, drill, everywhere, and shut down all these expensive pollutional, bird-killing wind machines that would have to get better to be, ugly. He wants to add the Federal Department of Education, which promotes rotten teachers who don't want to teach and want to have kids stay home so they can party. And then our kids can't read, write, spell, or as I like to say, we're in a generation of kids that can't read, write, spell, think, learn, listen, or remember. They can't do any of them. They can't talk. Release the JFK, RFK, and MLK files. Boy, are people howling over that because it's going to reveal bad things about who were involved in their murder. He wants to make America healthy again because terrible numbers of children are suffering. When I was a kid in school, one person in every 10,000 had autism. Now it's 1 in every 31. And by September, they're going to release to the world, if time went on. Secretary Kennedy said, we're going to tell the world what's causing it. We're going to figure it out. We're down to a few things. Attack him for that. The food manufacturers attack him because they've got addictive junk inside these foods, in quotes, that are being eaten at great numbers. That's created an epidemic of obesity and therefore cancer and diabetes and pre-diabetic conditions and strokes and heart attacks because of the rotten food. How dare you make us healthy again? Don't do those tariffs so that there's a little bit of inflation. We know these problems developed $37 trillion in debt and the trade imbalances over a period of decades. We elected you to fix it in 5 minutes and preferably 3. That's the way they think. Yes, I get very glandular, but we're watching a prophecy fulfilled. It's a metric, and you can't go another year. They're already planning his third impeachment. The articles have already been introduced. They're not going to get anywhere unless they win the House in 2 years. God isn't going to let that happen. They want to protect the value of citizenship and who can vote. and law and order, and expel the radical gang leaders. Expel them, get them out of the country so they don't murder anymore. One woman, a Democrat, said, "I'm so sorry I voted for the Lake and Riley bill. I wouldn't do it again." What do you mean you wouldn't do it again? This monster from South America came in here and butchered her. She fought like a tiger, but wasn't strong enough. Now this woman's sorry she voted to give such people the death penalty. And there are so many things he's done. They go on and on and on and on and on. It's incredible. It's incredible. Freezing hiring, trying to pull the country back from a $2 trillion deficit. 48% of the people in the Democratic Party today will say in a survey, we want him assassinated. And almost the same number say, kill Elon Musk. In an open survey, they will say it. I've seen the surveys, any number of surveys. They say, in this case, kill him. He travels in a car called the Beast with 2-inch glass. An RPG can't get through it. 50 caliber machine gun can't fire through it. There are people with Stinger missiles on top of the White House and every kind of weapon up there you can't even imagine if anything gets remotely close. But you only have to get lucky once if you want to kill him. You tell me why he escaped twice. He was preserved. Not because he walks on water, but because of that prophecy we just read and never understood. God's work is here. Now they want him to take mental tests, his mental acuity. Where were they when the last guy was in there? He didn't know if he'd been born yet. Or maybe he wondered, I wonder, have I died? He didn't know anything. Anyway, I wanted to go through that with you because that is a metric, and it's restoring an understanding that goes back 4,000 years. And when he was done uttering this prophecy in Genesis 49, Jacob pulled his feet up into his bed and died. And they buried him. And that's when the last days begin, which is its own interesting statement. It doesn't mean there was a kingdom in front of this, because this here in the last days. Well, what were the last days in front of that? Of course, we know there are mockers and scoffers all through every age.